Our next one-pot dish is a Cajun classic from Louisiana, seafood gumbo, prepared by Chef Randy Page, assisted by Jennifer Caldwell.
First thing we're going to do to make our gumbo is we're going to make a roux, which is a combination of oil or butter and flour that's used to thicken soups and sauces. And for a great gumbo, we're going to use a darker roux, where we're actually going to brown the roux, get a nice chocolate brown color, and that's going to give us a lot of flavor and a lot of nice texture and color.
First, all-purpose flour is whisked into vegetable oil that has been heated.
Put it in and start stirring immediately. We're dealing with high heat, and we want to be very careful not to scorch the flour. To make a brown roux properly, it takes a little bit of time and a little bit of attention. We're going to let this cook, and we're going to stir it while it browns very slowly. While we're making the roux, Jennifer's slicing the okra and the smoked andouille sausage and some of the great things that we're going to be using for our dish. So our roux is starting to brown, and when it starts to brown, it sometimes can take a while to get to this point, but once it begins to brown, it will brown quite quickly. So we really want to watch it carefully. We want to make sure that it doesn't scorch.
The chef cooks the roux slowly until it's very dark in color, whisking constantly and being careful not to scorch the mixture.
Okay, we've achieved the color that we're looking for. You smell that nice, rich, nutty flavor and aroma? What we want to do at this point is we're going to take our basic Cajun trinity of vegetables, which is onions, peppers, and celery. We're going to actually cook them in the roux. That does a couple of things. It immediately cools down the temperature of the roux and stops it from cooking, and it also gets the flavor of the vegetables well into the dish. So, Jennifer, if you would, just go ahead. We've got onions, peppers, and celery diced. Just throw those right in, and I'm going to get a spoon so that we can stir them up a little better. Just throw them right in. That's beautiful. It's going to be very hot. Okay, we just want to let these vegetables cook until they're softened up a little bit. And now that these vegetables have softened up, we've got a little bit of garlic we're going to put in right at the end. We don't want to cook the garlic too much, so we add that last. Okay, and just soften that up just a little bit. And we've got some nice, rich seafood stock that we made from fish bones and shrimp shells, lobster shells, crab shells, any type of seafood that you might have that adds a lot of great flavor. We're just going to add that right in. Now that that's in, we're going to go back to our whisk just to break up the roux a little bit to make sure we get a nice, smooth gumbo. Hearty gumbo, one-pot meal of the South. We're going to go ahead and season this with some Louisiana seafood seasoning that we have made up. And we're going to throw in 1 bay leaf. And just a little note, when we're serving this later, anytime you make anything with bay leaves, you need to remember to get those out. And if you're making a large batch of something where you have more than 1 bay leaf, I always make sure that I count the bay leaves, and I always make sure I have a nice whole one so that I remember how many are in there and I know when I've got them all out. You really can't eat those. They don't soften up. And last of all, let's add our diced tomatoes. Okay. Tomatoes have been peeled, seeded, and diced. We're going to add the tomatoes in, and we're going to let this simmer. Anytime we make something, a soup or a sauce or a gumbo with a roux, we want to let this simmer for about 30 to 45 minutes to make sure that we cook the roux completely and then we cook out the flavor of any raw flour. Jennifer, our gumbo is simmered for a little while. We're now ready to add our okra.
Do we have to use okra?
Well, we don't have to use okra. The word gumbo actually means okra, and really what's relatively well accepted today is that a gumbo is a thick, hearty stew that is thickened with any of a combination of roux, okra, or gumbo filet, which is ground sassafras leaves. And any of those things actually not only add flavor but thicken the soup. We're actually using roux and okra in this one, which gives us a lot of great flavor, and it's going to add a little nice texture to it. Let's also go ahead and put our sausage in.
Okay.
This is andouille sausage, very traditional Cajun Creole Southern Louisiana sausage, smoked sausage. We're now going to let this simmer for about 10 minutes before we add our seafood and finish our gumbo.
Peeled, deveined shrimp and raw oysters are added, along with some crab meat.
Just going to use a few of the oysters. And we've got some crab meat. Now this is blue crab meat. It's very typical on the East Coast and in the South. But any crab meat that you like would certainly make wonderful gumbo. Seafood we put in last because these things are very delicate and they cook very quickly.
When the shrimp turn pink and the edges of the oysters curl, the gumbo is ready to serve.
Jennifer, we always serve gumbo with rice. Got some steamed white rice. We're just going to put the rice in the middle of our bowl. We're going to ladle our gumbo around the rice very carefully. All those rich chunks of sausage and seafood. Doesn't that look great?
It looks great. It smells great.
And we're just going to finish it. We've got a couple pieces of okra that we boiled in there. Got a nice, beautiful shrimp. Just netted from the Gulf this morning. And a little bit of parsley. It'll sit right in there. That's our beautiful Louisiana seafood gumbo.